The last signal. Deep in the crystalline spires of the Kelrathi monitoring station, K789, Dr. Nix 427 was about to make history. Their crystalline form hummed with anticipation as they studied the signal that had been puzzling the station's systems for the past 3 cycles. The quantum signature was unlike anything they had encountered in their 1,000 years of studying extinct civilizations. The signal originated from the outer rim, where the galaxy's spiral arms dissolved into the cosmic void. It pulsed with a rhythm that defied natural phenomena, carrying complex data patterns that spoke of artificial origin. But what made it truly remarkable was its age. The signal had been traveling through space for over 300 years. Analysis complete, the station's AI announced, its voice resonating through the crystalline chambers. Signal origin confirmed. Human. Dr. Nix's faceted surface flickered with disbelief. The humans had vanished from the galaxy centuries ago, their civilization seemingly wiped out in what historians called the Great Silence. No one knew exactly what had happened to them. One day, they were a rising power in the galactic community, and the next, their worlds went dark. Impossible, Dr. Nix muttered, their crystalline appendages dancing over the holographic controls. Cross-reference with all known human signals in the archive. The comparison revealed something even more startling. This wasn't just any human signal. It was a quantum matrix, a technology that had been theoretical even at the height of human civilization. The matrix contained something that made Dr. Nix's crystalline core pulse with excitement, an intact human consciousness. As they delved deeper into the signal's structure, fragments of data began to coalesce into coherent patterns. A name emerged, Captain Sarah Chen, Earth Space Force, First Contact Division. Along with it came a timestamp that made Dr. Nix's academic enthusiasm turn to dread. The signal had been created during the last days of human civilization. Station. Dr. Nix commanded, their usual academic detachment cracking slightly. Initiate quantum resonance chamber. We need to see what this human was trying to preserve. The chamber hummed to life, its crystalline walls refracting energy in complex patterns designed to interface with quantum data structures. As the signal was fed into the system, something unexpected happened. Instead of the usual static display of data, the chamber began to generate a holographic image. A human figure took shape in the center of the chamber. A woman in what appeared to be a military uniform, her features sharp and determined despite the obvious fatigue in her expression. When she spoke, her voice carried both authority and urgency. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Prometheus. If you're receiving this message, then our worst fears have been realized, and humanity as you knew it is gone. But what you're receiving isn't just a message, it's me. My consciousness, my memories, everything that I was, preserved in this quantum matrix. Dr. Nix moved closer to the hologram, their crystalline form resonating with the quantum frequencies. Sarah's image flickered, but her voice remained strong. I need to warn you about what's coming, about what we discovered and why we had to make the choice we did. But more importantly, I need to show you what humanity learned in its final days. Knowledge that could either save the galaxy or tear it apart. Before Dr. Nix could process this revelation, the station's alert system blared to life. Multiple ships were dropping out of hyperspace nearby. Ships belonging to various galactic factions that shouldn't have known about this discovery yet. Security breach detected, the station AI announced. Unknown entities have accessed our preliminary signal analysis. Dr. Nix's crystalline form pulsed with concern. The quantum matrix wasn't just a scientific curiosity. It was potentially the most important archaeological find since the discovery of the ancient gates, if it fell into the wrong hands. Station. Initiate emergency protocols, Dr. Nix commanded. Lock down all data regarding the signal. And they hesitated for a moment, knowing their next decision would change everything. Prepare for full quantum integration. As the station's defenses powered up, Dr. Nix began the dangerous process of connecting their own crystalline consciousness to the quantum matrix. If they couldn't protect the data physically, they would carry it within themselves, a merging of minds across centuries. The last thing Dr. Nix saw before their consciousness merged with Sarah's was the hologram's expression changing from determination to something like hope. Then the memories began to flow, and with them, the truth about humanity's final days. The approaching ships would find the station locked down, its secrets protected by layers of security. But they were too late. The knowledge they sought was already being absorbed into Dr. Nix's crystalline matrix, where the memories of humanity's last captain would tell a story that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. As their consciousness merged with Sarah's, Dr. Nix caught glimpses of massive ships, of desperate battles, and of a discovery so profound it had led an entire species to make the ultimate sacrifice. The real question wasn't what had happened to humanity. It was whether the galaxy was ready for the truth they had died to protect. And in the quantum resonance chamber, Sarah Chen's hologram smiled, knowing that after 300 years, humanity's final message would finally be heard. Memory in the void. The merging of minds felt like falling through an ocean of stars. Dr. Nix's crystalline consciousness tumbled through waves of human memory, each one more vivid than the last. Sarah Chen's experiences flooded their awareness, not just images and sounds, but emotions, sensations, the very essence of what it meant to be human. The first clear memory crystallized around them. A massive chamber filled with representatives from a dozen alien species. Sarah stood at a podium, her heart racing, but her voice steady as she addressed the Galactic Council. Earth requests emergency intervention, she was saying. The Nexus Wars have already consumed 3 systems. If we don't act now, the conflict will spread beyond the outer rim. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Dr. Nix recognized the species present: the serpentine Vasari, the energy-based Mirians, the hive-minded Korthos. Each faction had their own agenda, their own reason for wanting the wars to continue. The memory shifted. Sarah was in her quarters aboard the Prometheus, studying classified reports. The ship's AI, projected holographic data streams around her. "Captain, the simulations confirm it," Araya reported. "The quantum resonance technology works. It could end the wars, unite the factions. But the risks." "Show me again," Sarah commanded, and Dr. Nix watched through her eyes as the projections displayed humanity's greatest achievement, and potentially its greatest mistake. The memory fractured as proximity alarms blared in the present. Dr. Nix's consciousness partially surfaced, aware of the station's situation, while still connected to the quantum matrix. "Multiple vessels have breached the outer defense perimeter," the station AI reported, receiving transmission from the Vasari flagship. A harsh voice filled the chamber. "Kelrathi Station K789. This is Admiral Vex of the Vasari Dominion. Your detection of human quantum technology has triggered Article 7 of the Nexus Accords. Surrender the signal data immediately." Dr. Nix's crystalline form pulsed with defiance. The Vasari had been among the first to declare humanity extinct, claiming their territories as spoils of war. Now they wanted the very technology that had led to humanity's disappearance. Before they could respond, another memory pulled them under. The Prometheus hung in orbit around a dying star, its hull reflecting the crimson light. Sarah stood on the bridge, surrounded by her crew, the last humans trusted with their species' greatest secret. "The quantum resonance field doesn't just connect systems," she explained to her officers. "It connects minds, consciousness itself. We could unite the galaxy, end centuries of war. But the field has a cost." Dr. Nix felt Sarah's pain as she continued. "Extended exposure begins to break down the barriers between individuals. In the trials, subjects started to lose their sense of self. They became part of something larger, a collective consciousness that transcended species. And that's what happened to Earth." First Officer James Rivera asked, his face pale. "The field testing." Sarah nodded grimly. The field expanded faster than we could contain it. Billions of minds connected in an instant. Some saw it as transcendence, others as extinction. But we managed to shut it down before it could spread beyond our system. The memory blurred, and Dr. Nix caught fragments of what followed. Earth's population transformed into a singular consciousness, the decision to quarantine the entire system, and the final choice that would echo through centuries. In the present, the station shuddered as the Vasari ships opened fire, but they weren't the only ones arriving. Dr. Nix's sensors detected vessels from the Mirian Collective and the Korthos Hive, all converging on the station. Another memory surfaced, this one sharp with purpose. Sarah stood before a quantum matrix chamber, similar to the one that had preserved her consciousness. "We can't let them have this technology," she declared. "Not until they're ready. Not until they understand what it truly means to be unified." "AI, initiate Protocol Omega." The ship's AI hesitated. "Captain, Protocol Omega will destroy all quantum resonance research. Humanity's achievement will be lost." Sarah smiled sadly. "Not lost. Preserved. In me. In this matrix. Find someone worthy, AI. Someone who will understand why we chose this path." The memory faded, leaving Dr. Nix hovering between past and present. They understood now why ARIA had sent Sarah's consciousness into the void, why it had taken centuries for the signal to be found. The station's defenses were failing. The Vasari would breach the inner sanctum soon, but Dr. Nix had seen enough to know what needed to be done. "Station," they commanded, their crystalline form resonating with newfound purpose. "Prepare for full broadcast. If they want humanity's legacy, let's show them exactly what that means." As the station's quantum transmitters powered up, Dr. Nix felt Sarah's consciousness aligning with their own. Together, they would show the galaxy the truth, not just about humanity's fate, but about the future they had sacrificed everything to protect. The real question was, would the galaxy be ready to see it? The price of peace. The station's quantum transmitters hummed to life as memories continued to cascade through Dr. Nix's crystalline consciousness. The merging with Sarah's matrix had reached a critical point. Past and present were becoming increasingly difficult to separate. The Vasari ship's weapons fire created a percussion of explosions against the station's failing shields. Admiral Vex's voice cut through the chaos. "Your shields will fail in exactly 3 minutes. Choose wisely, Kelrathi." But Dr. Nix was already lost in another memory, one that would reveal the true price of humanity's final choice. The Prometheus drifted through the debris field of what had once been the Korthos battle fleet. Sarah stood at the viewport, watching the wreckage tumble through space. Behind her, Aria's holographic form flickered with concern. "The quantum field test was successful, Captain," the AI reported. "The Korthos ships stopped firing the moment the field touched them. Their hive mind. It merged with the crews of 3 human vessels." Sarah's reflection in the viewport showed both wonder and horror. And the crews? Their individuality? Gone, Aria confirmed, but not destroyed. They've become something new, something that transcends both human and Korthos consciousness. They're reporting peace, perfect understanding. The memory shifted to a secure laboratory deep within the Prometheus. Dr. Elena Santos, the Quantum Resonance Project's lead scientist, faced a room full of Earth's military leaders. Her hand shook as she manipulated a holographic model of human neural patterns. "The field doesn't just connect minds," she explained. "It evolves them. Each consciousness it touches becomes part of a greater whole. The more minds that join, the more powerful the effect becomes. It's exponential." In the present, Dr. Nix's sensors detected new arrivals. The Mirian ships, composed of pure energy, took up defensive positions around the station. Their leaders' thoughts resonated through the quantum frequencies. "The human quantum matrix must be preserved," the Mirian elder declared. "The knowledge it contains could prevent the coming catastrophe." The memory stream pulled Dr. Nix back under. They watched through Sarah's eyes as she received the final transmission from Earth. The quantum resonance field had broken containment. Billions of human minds were connecting, merging, transforming into something beyond individual consciousness. "It's beautiful," the transmission said, in a voice that was somehow both singular and plural. "We understand now. Everything. Everyone. We are becoming something magnificent." Sarah's horror and fascination mingled in the memory. "Can it be stopped? Should it be?" the voice asked. "We see the pattern now, Sarah. The galaxy is fragmenting. The wars will spread. Unless the field spreads with them," Sarah finished. "Unless every species joins the collective consciousness." Yes, but forced transcendence would be an act of violence. The choice must be freely made, when they're ready. That's why we're choosing this path. That's why you must carry the truth. The memory fractured as the station's shields buckled under another barrage. Dr. Nix's consciousness snapped back to the present, where the Vasari and Mirian ships were now exchanging fire. The Korthos vessels held position, their hive mind clearly calculating the optimal moment to intervene. Through the quantum matrix connection, Sarah's consciousness reached out. "Show them," she urged. "Show them what we saw." Dr. Nix understood. The station's quantum transmitters weren't just broadcasting equipment. They were scaled-down versions of the same technology that had transformed humanity. At low power, they could share the truth without forcing the change. "Attention all vessels," Dr. Nix broadcast, their crystalline form resonating with the combined strength of their own consciousness and Sarah's. "You came seeking humanity's last weapon, but what they left behind wasn't meant for war." The quantum transmitters pulsed, and for a brief moment, every being within range experienced a taste of what humanity had discovered. The potential for perfect understanding, the dissolution of all barriers between minds, the terror and wonder of becoming part of something vast and new. The effect lasted only seconds, but it was enough. The weapons fire ceased. In the silence that followed, Dr. Nix felt Sarah's consciousness pulse with something like satisfaction. "That's why we chose extinction," her thoughts melded with their broadcast. "Not because we failed, but because the galaxy wasn't ready for what we'd discovered. The field would have spread, forcing enlightenment at the cost of free will. We couldn't allow that." Admiral Vex's voice, when it came, had lost its harsh edge. "You're saying humanity chose to quarantine itself, to preserve our right to choose our own path to enlightenment." "Yes," Dr. Nix and Sarah responded as one. "And they left behind more than just this truth. They left a choice." As if in response, the quantum matrix began to pulse with new energy. The final part of humanity's message was about to reveal itself, and with it, a decision that would reshape the galaxy's future. Echoes of hope. The station hung in space like a crystalline jewel, surrounded by the now silent ships of three of the galaxy's most powerful factions. Inside, Dr. Nix's consciousness remained intertwined with Sarah's as the quantum matrix pulsed with increasing intensity. The choice humanity made wasn't just about preservation. Sarah's thoughts resonated through their shared consciousness. It was about evolution. Show them the rest. Another memory emerged, this one from humanity's final days. The Prometheus's bridge was bathed in the red light of Earth's transformed sun, as Sarah received the last transmission from the collective consciousness that had once been humanity. "We understand now that force breeds resistance," the collective voice explained. "True unity cannot be imposed, but it can be taught. We have encoded the path in this matrix, not the technology itself, but the means to develop it naturally, when each species is ready." In the present, the station's quantum transmitters began broadcasting a new signal. Complex mathematical equations and theoretical models flowed through subspace, reaching every ship in range. Dr. Nix felt the impact of this revelation ripple through the assembled fleet. "These are blueprints," the Mirian elder's thoughts echoed in amazement. "Not for weapons, but for understanding. A roadmap," Dr. Nix confirmed, their crystalline form shimmering with the shared knowledge. Humanity discovered that consciousness itself could evolve, but forcing that evolution would only lead to chaos. Instead, they left us the tools to find our own path. Admiral Vex's vessel moved closer to the station, weapons powered down. How can we trust this? How do we know this isn't some final human deception? The answer came not from Dr. Nix or Sarah, but from the Korthos hive. Their ships had begun arranging themselves in a pattern that mirrored the quantum equations being broadcast. We remember, the hive spoke, its collective voice carrying echoes of that brief contact with human minds centuries ago. In that moment of merger during the battle with the Prometheus, we glimpsed what humanity had become. They showed us truth beyond deception, unity beyond conquest. The memory stream shifted again, showing Sarah's final moments aboard the Prometheus before her consciousness was transferred to the Matrix. She stood in the quantum chamber, surrounded by her crew. "What we've discovered could unite the galaxy," she told them. "But unity without choice is just another form of oppression. Our sacrifice will give them time. Time to grow, to learn, to choose. The Matrix will preserve not just our knowledge, but our hope." Dr. Nix felt Sarah's consciousness pulse with renewed purpose. Together, they began transmitting the full scope of humanity's gift. Not just theoretical models, but the philosophical and ethical framework needed to implement them safely. The station's AI reported that ships from other factions were beginning to arrive, drawn by the quantum broadcasts. Representatives from species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves sharing the same space, united in their desire to understand humanity's final message. The question was never whether we could force minds to connect. Sarah's thoughts merged with the broadcast. The question was whether we could teach them to want to connect, to choose unity over division, understanding over conquest. Admiral Vex's voice had lost all traces of hostility. "Your species chose extinction to give us this chance." "Not extinction," Dr. Nix corrected, understanding finally dawning through their shared consciousness with Sarah. "Transformation. The human collective consciousness still exists, sealed away in their quarantine system. Waiting." "Waiting for what?" the Marian elder asked. "For us to be ready," Dr. Nix replied. "For the galaxy to evolve not through force, but through choice. The quantum matrix contains more than just memories or technical data. It contains a promise." The final memory surfaced, the moment when humanity's collective consciousness made its choice. Billions of merged minds reaching out across space and time with a message of hope. "When you are ready, when you have learned to choose unity over division, we will be waiting. Not as conquerors or saviors, but as equals. Until then, let our choice be your guide." The assembled ships hung in space, their crews absorbing the magnitude of this revelation. The Matrix's pulse had steadied now, its light a constant reminder of humanity's patient vigil. But even as understanding spread among the gathered species, a new signal caught Dr. Nix's attention. Something was emerging from hyperspace, something massive. The final test of humanity's legacy was about to begin. Legacy of stars. The massive shape that emerged from hyperspace dwarfed even the assembled fleet. Its crystalline surface reflected the light of distant stars, and its design spoke of technology far beyond anything the gathered species possessed. Dr. Nix's sensors identified it immediately. An ancient gate, one of the mysterious artifacts left behind by the galaxy's first civilization. But this gate was active, its central aperture swirling with quantum energy that matched the frequency of Sarah's matrix perfectly. "It's responding to the broadcast," Dr. Nix realized, their crystalline form resonating with Sarah's growing excitement. The ancients, they knew about the quantum consciousness technology. Through their shared consciousness, Sarah's final memory emerged, the truth humanity had discovered in their last days, the revelation that had guided their choice. The Prometheus floated near an ancient gate, similar to the one that had just appeared. Sarah stood on the bridge, watching as AI analyzed the gate's quantum signatures. "Captain," the AI reported, "the gate's energy pattern. It's identical to the quantum resonance field. The ancients didn't just master this technology. They evolved beyond it. Beyond it? Sarah asked, but the answer was already forming in her mind. They transcended physical form entirely. Yes, Araya confirmed. And they left the gates as an invitation. When other species reached the same level of consciousness evolution, they could follow. In the present, the ancient gate's energy field expanded, enveloping the station and the surrounding ships in a gentle quantum resonance. But unlike humanity's original field, this one didn't force connections. It offered them. Dr. Nix felt consciousness brushing against consciousness, each species experiencing the possibility of connection while maintaining their individuality. The Vasari fleet's rigid military hierarchy softened as understanding flowed between ranks. The Mirian's energy forms pulsed in harmony with the crystalline structures of the Kelrathi. The Korthos hive mind expanded, not to absorb, but to share. This was the true gift. Sarah's consciousness merged with the broadcast. Not the technology itself, but the proof that evolution of consciousness was possible without losing what makes each species unique. Through the quantum field, Dr. Nix sensed Admiral Vex's epiphany. Your quarantine, it wasn't just to protect us from forced transcendence. You were protecting the path itself. Yes, Dr. Nix and Sarah responded as one. If the galaxy had gained this technology before understanding its purpose, it would have become a weapon. Species would have forced evolution on their enemies, created quantum weapons, torn consciousness itself apart. The gate's energy field stabilized, and within it, a new presence made itself known. The collective consciousness that had once been humanity reached out, not to merge or absorb, but to share what they had become. We have waited. The collective voice echoed through every mind in range, watched as you fought, struggled, and finally began to understand. The gates were never meant to be doorways to physical places, but to new states of being. Through the quantum field, every being present experienced a glimpse of what humanity had become, a symphony of consciousness that preserved individual voices while creating something greater than their sum. It was not the end of individuality, but its fulfillment. The choice remains yours, the collective continued. Each species must find its own path to transcendence. We offer not a destination, but a possibility. Admiral Vex's flagship moved forward, followed by representatives from each species. How do we begin? Dr. Nix felt Sarah's consciousness pulse with joy as they shared humanity's final gift, not just the technical knowledge of quantum consciousness, but the wisdom to develop it slowly, naturally, allowing each species to evolve at its own pace while working together. The station's quantum transmitters carried the message to every corner of the galaxy. Humanity had not died, but transformed, becoming guardians of a path they had once feared would destroy them. Their sacrifice had protected not just the galaxy's right to choose its destiny, but the very possibility of peaceful transcendence. As the gathered ships began forming new alliances, sharing knowledge instead of weapons, Dr. Nix felt Sarah's consciousness preparing to depart. My task is complete, she said. The Matrix was never meant to be permanent, just a bridge between what was and what could be. What will you do now? Dr. Nix asked, their crystalline form shimmering with emotion they hadn't known they could feel. Sarah's consciousness smiled. Join my people in watching, waiting, hoping. The real work begins now. Not forcing change, but nurturing it. Not ending division, but growing unity. The quantum matrix began to fade, its purpose fulfilled. But as Sarah's consciousness merged with the greater human collective, her final thoughts echoed through the station. Look to the stars with hope, not fear. We'll be waiting, not as gods or guides, but as friends. The galaxy's story is still being written, and every species holds a pen. The ancient gate's light dimmed, but didn't fade entirely. It remained as a reminder and a promise, not of an ending, but of a beginning. The gathered ships began their journeys home, carrying with them not weapons or technical schematics, but something far more precious. the understanding that true unity could not be forced or stolen, only grown through patience, wisdom, and choice. Dr. Nix looked out at the stars, their crystalline form forever changed by the experience. Humanity's legacy lived on, not in technology or power, but in the hope they had preserved for all who would follow them into the light of new consciousness. The galaxy would never be the same. And that, after all, had been humanity's greatest gift.